Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Kreis, and today we're going to do my top games of 2013. I'm going to break this up into two parts because I got a lot of games to get through here, and yeah, it's going to take a while to maneuver through all this stuff. But these are the 2013 games that I've played, and most of them I've done game discussions on. There's a few of them that I haven't yet because I haven't actually finished them yet. But yeah, this is sort of my personal list for how I want to rank how 2013 went. And there's going to be games that are not going to be on this list because I don't play those types of games, and you are free to make your own list. This is YouTube, you can do whatever you want, so if you don't see a game on here that you think should be on a top 2013 list, you are by all means free to make your own list. But this is my personal list. It's not an objective list. It's very subjective. It's my point of view and sort of how I enjoyed these games. So this isn't like, you know, EGM or Game Informer trying to make some kind of journalistic point. This is me saying these are the games that I enjoyed, and this is the order I enjoyed them in. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, there's going to be some games on here that you won't see. But I played a lot of games. I mean, I played a lot of games just in general. But of the 2013 releases, I played a lot. And I'm actually kind of surprised by all this. When you stack them all there and you look at them, you're like, wow, I played a lot of 2013 releases. But let's go ahead and get started, which I believe is number 25 on the list. And that is Star Trek. And I waited for this to get cheap, and I'm kind of glad I did, because this is a buggy, glitchy mess. And, you know, the actors kind of phone in their lines, but at the same time, it's kind of cool to run around the Enterprise and just be in this new Star Trek universe in a game. But as it stands, this is not the greatest. And if you can find it for cheap, sure, go ahead and enjoy yourself. But, you know, if you bought it new, I kind of feel bad for you, and I'm sorry. But I love Star Trek, so I had to give it a shot. But it's a traditional movie cash-in, you know. It's just a big glitchy mess. The next game is awesome because my friend T.G. Apalea sent it to me. But when you kind of boil it down to all the other games on here, it just kind of didn't stack up to everything else, and that is Deadpool. And I personally really like the character of Deadpool, but I think he's one of those characters that work better in the comics, and this game kind of made me not want a Deadpool movie. Because when you're reading like the speech bubbles, it's one thing, but when the character is there just kind of hitting you in the head, you know, with these lines over and over again, it kind of gets very annoying. You can see how Deadpool can be a very annoying character to some people. But, you know, the gameplay was just kind of average, and, you know, once you kind of got over the sort of the humor of it, you're like, okay, I've had enough. So, number 24 is Deadpool. Now, this next one, I did not do a game discussion on because I was just playing it and I wasn't feeling it. So I put it up, and then I've never gone back to it. And I feel kind of bad. But in terms of a game, I don't feel this game is... It's technically a good game, but it just doesn't have any spirit to it. It doesn't have any... I don't know. It's just missing something, and it just feels like a big commercial. And that is Project X Zone on the 3DS. And while there is a wonderful charm to seeing all these characters interacting with each other, the story makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't even try to make sense. But the great thing about this game is it got me really interested in other series just by seeing these characters. So for that alone, I would say it's worth it, because it's probably pretty cheap right now. And I have the box set. It's up there on the shelf. But, yeah, I don't know. Just in terms of like a strategy RPG, there is a much better strategy RPG that came out this year. And this one just did not do it for me. And a lot of the characters I didn't know, because I'm not totally familiar with all the Namco characters and everything. But the ones I did know, it was awesome to see. But I don't know, just on a whole, it just didn't do anything for me. I was just kind of playing it, and I mean, I was enjoying myself, but I wasn't like, I gotta keep playing this game. And the mere fact that I put it up and didn't return to it really is what kept it very low on this list. So, Project X Zone, or Cross Zone, I guess is what it's called. The next one up is a game that I kind of defended because it came out and people kind of beat it up. And I was like, oh, that's too bad, because it is a really good game. But when you stack it up to everything else that came out this year, this is where it had to kind of stay. And that is Devil May Cry. I got it on the PS3. You can also get it on the 360. But everyone beat this up because they said, oh, Dante's too angsty and, he's trying to be too cool and everything. And there is a character arc to this. He starts off very brash and very just a not good character. And then by the end of it, he kind of is starting to walk the path of the heroic Dante from the first games, But even the heroic Dante of the first games is still kind of a jerk. So I don't know what people were expecting out of this, but the gameplay is solid, it's fun. Just when it boiled down to all these other games, I actually enjoyed other games more. And, but yeah, it's probably out there for dirt cheap. Pick it up and give it a shot, because it is a really fun, flashy action game done by Ninja Theory, who did Enslaved, one of my favorite games kind of ever. So, yep, that's Devil May Cry. I kind of lost track of my thoughts there for a second. The next one, I wanted to like it so much. I wanted to really love this game because it's the third part of an unofficial trilogy. As we know, there was a big push to get some Wii games released over here in the United States. And we got Xenoblade, which was amazing. We got The Last Story, which was also amazing, but not kind of in the same scale. And then we got Pandora's Tower, brought to us by Xseed, of course. And it's just kind of like, they should have did these in reverse order. They should have released Pandora's Tower first, and then released Last Story, and then released Xenoblade. Because it kind of felt like diminishing returns in a way, because this is a good game and I had a fun time with it. It's kind of a Zelda-ish type game if you want to go that route. But the controls are just very... The controls needed a lot more polish. The graphics, while I enjoyed the graphics, they do... it's the Wii. It's not going to be HD. But the storyline I actually really enjoyed. I loved the interaction with the female character, who I can't remember her name now, it's been so long, Elena. I love the interaction with Elena, and that the mission is trying to protect her, and you really do feel bad if you take too long in a dungeon and come back and she's starting to turn into a monster. It's a really good game. It's got its frustrations, but I wish it would have had some more polish. I kind of hope they do a Pandora's Tower 2, and they just kind of polish it out, but I think the response to this game is kind of not going to make that happen. But it's kind of weird how all three Operation Rainfall games centered around the theme of love. And I think that's what kind of really separates JRPGs from other, games, is that it's not afraid to do a game where the central theme is a love story, like Pandora's Tower or The Last Story. And that in and of itself is really awesome. So Pandora's Tower, I think see where we're at, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, Pandora's Tower. Now the next game, and you're probably going to sit there and scratch your head to like, why did this game rate higher than a few other games? Because I actually had a really fun time with this game. I enjoyed it through and through. It has its problems, it has its flaws, but for some strange reason, I love this game not only in spite of its flaws, but because of its flaws. And that game is Time and Eternity. And I was joking around a lot on the AGP chat about making this my game of the year, just to see how many people I could piss off. But I knew in the end I couldn't do it. But I don't know what it was, man. There was just a certain charm to it that it hit me in a certain place, and I really kind of enjoyed it. But I have to admit that it's not a good game, and it's not going to be for everyone. But it's just one of those weird sort of crappy games that come out that for some reason you enjoy. And I enjoyed my time with Time and Eternity. I really had a good time. It's not going to be the next Final Fantasy. It's not going to be the next, it's not even Pandora's Tower, really. But for some reason, when sat down and thought about it, I was like, I kind of enjoyed this more. And the combat's kind of crappy, the graphics are kind of crappy, but I don't know, I just enjoyed my time with it. So, number 20 is Time and Eternity. And then here we go with another game that I didn't do a review on, because, again, it just didn't grab me. I was actually really disappointed in it. I don't know what I was expecting out of it, but when I got down to the gameplay, and then the fact that I couldn't even play online until you already beat the game, was kind of like, well, screw it. I want to go play something else. And that is Dragon's Crown on the Vita. And, you know, some people say, oh, you should have got the PS3 version. But, you know, I wanted more games for my Vita, and so I picked this version, and it's still really beautiful looking on the Vita. I don't know, I don't know what I was expecting out of it. Because I do love side-scrolling brawlers, you know, I love those old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. But this, I just kind of got bored with it really fast. Really fast. Like, the third dungeon, I was like, is this all this is? And then, like, the runestones came in, and everyone's like, oh, wait till the runestones come in. It totally changes the game. And the runestones came in, and I was like, why do I even need these, you know? I don't know. I guess it's just one of those games. It kind of reminds me of the same kind of gameplay mentality as, like, maybe Diablo, in that you level a character up and you max them out, and then you're like, okay, what do I do now? Well, then I'll just pick another character and max that one out. And, like, there's 6 playable characters in this, so you can do that, but I don't know, for me, it didn't do anything, and this is probably going to piss off Aerodynamish, but I actually really enjoyed Code of Princess more, and that's kind of a side-scrolling beat-em-up from Atlas as well. But it's a Vanillaware game, and it's gorgeous. It just wasn't for me, so Dragon's Crown is number 19. And then I have a little note here, because the next one is actually a downloadable only game. And that is Senran Kagura Burst. And it just came out not too long ago, and I've played through a few missions, and I enjoy it, but it's a very kind of simplistic, repetitious beat-em-up, you know. And that's kind of, I guess, more what I want out of a beat-em-up is it's kind of almost a Dynasty Warriors, side-scrolling Dynasty Warriors, because it's just all these enemies on the screen, and you're just comboing them up. And it is kind of a very repetitious game, but for some reason, it's perfect in the digital format, because you can just you could be playing, like, I don't know, Pokemon or something, and be like, okay, I'm kind of sick of this for a minute, and then switch over to Kagura Burst and complete a few missions, and then go back to your other game. So it kind of is like the perfect digital download game, because each mission only takes a few minutes. So in that respect, I have to, you know, kind of rate it higher, but it is kind of a repetitious game. There's been a lot of comments about the sexuality of the game, how all the ninja girls are very busty, and one of the ways you power them up is by making them explode their clothes off so they're in just a bikini. And so there is that aspect to it, but I don't know, it's just one of those weird Japanese experiences that if you want to pay give $30 to Xseed, you'll have fun with it, but it's not going to be the greatest game of all time. The next game is probably going to be one of those what the fuck moments. But this game completely, I've tried to get into this series, and I mean, I'm probably going to go back and finish this game, but it's just not for me. It's just not my style of game. It's not something that I would sink countless hours into, and that is Pokemon X. But, you know, there is a good game here, and I say that in my game discussion. There is a good game, and for people who like this style of game, they're going to love this. But for me, I don't have that mindset of gotta catch them all. I have a good team, and I don't really care to catch the other ones unless I see one that I know is powerful. Because, you know, Pokemon is kind of like religion in America. You can't grow up in America and not know about, you know, like, Christianity and stuff like that. It's just, it's so ingrained everywhere around you. And it's kind of the same thing. You can't grow up and not know like what a Charmander is and things like that. So whenever I see one of the old Pokemon that an old man like me would remember, I'm like, oh, I gotta catch that one. But then these new ones come up, and I was like, I have no idea what you do, so screw off. I'm not gonna catch you. But yeah, I just couldn't get into it, and that's why it's here on the list. Pokemon X. I don't know what the number is anymore. Who cares? The next game. Another style of game that I just can't get into is the MMO, and I've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and I think I'm just going to give up on the MMO. And the game that kind of solidified it for me is this game right here, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Now I had a fun time with this. I don't know how many hours I clocked into it. I want to say about 30, but yeah, it just got to the point where I was like, is this all I'm doing? Is just these quests? And then, like, I loved to just, like, run around and explore the world and kind of do things at my own pace. And then, like, when you play with somebody else, especially somebody who loves MMOs, and they have an agenda that they're trying to get a hold of, you just feel like you're kind of taken along for the ride. And instead of playing the game how you want to play it, you're playing the game how somebody else wants to play it. And that does get kind of frustrating. Because you're like, well, I want to go over here and do this, but we have to finish this mission to do this, to do this, to do this, and it's just I like games that I can tackle at my own pace and sort of not at somebody else's pace. So I think that's what's going to keep me away from MMOs. That being said, I still plan on looking into The Division when I finally get my PS4. But Final Fantasy XIV, had a good time with it. It's a great game if you like MMOs. But that genre is just not for me, so there's that. Next, another big sort of what the fuck moment. When this game came out, people were just falling over themselves. The hype was huge about this game, and I got swept up into it as well. And then I started playing the game, and I'm just kind of like, this is just kind of average. Am I missing something here? Why is everyone going crazy about this game? And I mean, I just didn't understand, and still to this day I kind of don't understand. I had fun with the game, and I thought it was great, but when it comes down to it, I think it's just sort of a middle of the road RPG, and that is Ni no Kuni. Yeah, I was really looking forward to this because the level 5 PS2 RPGs are fantastic. Dragon Quest VIII, Rogue Galaxy, just awesome. And when you kind of get to this, it's kind of a watered down Pokemon type game. And I loved the exploring of the world and sort of the creativity of the world and of course, the inclusion of Studio Ghibli into this. But I felt like the Ghibli stuff was vastly underused for how big they were hyping it. I mean, the animated cutscenes are very few and far between. And the battle system is really simple. The storyline is pretty good, but at the same time, it doesn't have that Ghibli punch for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, just kind of thought this was a middle of the road RPG, and I don't know where everyone else got the crazed nature for it. It just didn't do anything for me really. Except, I don't know, I guess maybe some people it kind of awoke a childlike wonder in them, but not so much for me. But anyway, that is Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. And finally here to round out this this first part is a game that drove me insane, but I kept coming back to it, and I kept playing it, and finally, once you start to figure out how to play the game, it's amazing, and it's so bad that a lot of people won't pick up this system and experience this game, and that is the wonderful 101, brought to us by Platinum Games, which is probably one of the more hardcore companies out there, and I would say that this is one of the more hardcore games out there. Everyone thinks of hardcore games as like Call of Duties and things like that, and this will make you want to snap your gamepad in half. But you keep coming back to it because it's so over the top and crazy. And yeah, I just fell in love with it. I kind of hope they do a sequel to it and kind of refine the controls a bit. Because if the controls were a little bit more refined, especially the drawing mechanic where you have to draw your shapes to call out different characters, this would be an amazing, amazing experience. But it's too bad that this is going to be on the Wii U, of course, which next to nobody has because there are no games. But hey, here's a game that's actually worth owning the system for. You know, they always say every system is worth owning for at least one or two games, and this is one of the ones that when people buy a Wii U, they say, what game should I pick up? I'm going to tell them Wonderful 101. But yeah, really enjoyed my time with it, and I need to go back and kind of finish it out, but I'm more, I think I'm 3/4 of the way through it. So, the storyline is just bonkers in this, just absolutely insane. But that is part 1 of the top games of 2013. I think it's 25 through 13. 25 through 13 or 12, one of the two. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and we'll come back and do part 2 a little bit later. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.